then fam, come with me if you will on a small journey. This is the last proper game store in Edinburgh. At one point we had 7 stores, 7 individual full-fledged game stores in the capital city of Scotland. We now have one and one of the half little wee stores inside a Sports Direct on Princess Street. There's a video of that. I'll link it in the description. But basically, what we have here is a shadow of what game used to be. Used to be the case you'd walk into this store as you would walk into any game store up and down our wet and windy little island, especially Scotland for that particular weather type. And you would be greeted by one side of the store would be Microsoft with a Nintendo section up the end. The other side of the store would be Sony with a PC section up the end. There'd be some bits in the middle for some other gaming accoutrement. There would be some merchandising. Later years there would be some Funko Pops. At one point there was even a bit for selling second-hand tech and second-hand game systems. So you could go in and buy a second-hand game system or a second-hand phone and tablet. You could buy the systems themselves. Everything was great. Everything worked. Now there was a troublesome period for game a few years ago when a bunch of game stores went to the wall because game itself very nearly went away. This was a sad time. But crucially, game came through the other side. And it seemed like for a few years there that they were not only recovering, but actually flourishing. Because that's when they brought in the second-hand trade-ins for other types of electronic equipment. And Funko Pops were new, and there was trade-ins happening and everything was great. But slowly but surely over the last 2, 3, possibly 5 years, depending how you count it, game has taken a disturbing turn for the worse. For instance, recently they got rid of not only trade-ins, one of the biggest part of games' financial backbone, the ability to trade in games for credit to buy more games. And crucially, when doing that, you would get points. And when buying stuff, you'd get points. Even when you bought credit for online marketplaces for Sony, PlayStation, Nintendo and Steam, you'd get points on your game card. Now this is my game card. Now this game card's got a bit of a history because I used to have one of the original cards. I've had a game account for the longest time. Note the word had. Because recently they got rid of the point system. So what's the point of this card? I went into a game store a wee while ago and I wanted to get some game credit. And you know what I walked out with? Nothing. Because this card no longer works. Now there are some game staff that'll tell you that there's probably a system coming. I don't see it happening. The reason I don't see it happening is basically because the people that own Sports Direct couldn't give a monkeys about game. For instance, the amount of times that game staff who work inside the mini stores inside Sports Direct are pulled off the game floor and are working on the Sports Direct floor. Something they're not trained in, something they didn't sign up for, but to keep their job, they've got to work in Sports Direct, even though what they wanted to do was work in game. Not to mention the fact that pretty much all game stores now operate on a zero contract basis, which could mean one week you could have a full 30 hours, the next week you'd be lucky if you see 4 hours. So you would never know how much work you're doing from week to week to week, and it's hard to actually pay rent, utilities, food, travel to work, washing your clothes, all that kind of stuff, when you don't know from week to week how much you'll possibly be earning and therefore live your life. Take away the fact that you can't do trade-ins anymore, that older game titles are gone, so you can't pick up anything for anything even remotely retro. You can't pick up anything for PS3, can't pick up anything for Xbox 360, can't pick up anything for the Wii or the Wii U. PC titles basically don't exist in the store because, let's face it, if you're a PC person, you're basically playing from the Steam store. So, what's happened to gaming these last few years is basically they've become toy shops. I mean, as you see from the footage behind me, that's what they mostly are. You've got one wall of games. The rest of it is like Lego sets and Barbie and board games, which I'm not entirely unhappy about, but it doesn't really fit the model. And what they basically have become is a smaller, less well-funded version of Smith's toy store. Smith's itself, which of course runs in a similar sort of vein to the original Jolly Green Giant stores that we used to have here on this poxy little island of ours. I don't know if they were ever got outside of the UK, but basically it was a gigantic toy store. Similar to the American Toys R Us, which I know did try to come back a couple of years ago, and I don't know if that's been wholly successful or not. I'll have to look into that. But the thing of it is games not doing well. The management is being let off left, right and centre. Staff is not getting hours left, right and centre. They keep not giving reasons for gamers to shop there. They're being undercut at every level by Argos, by Amazon, by the big box supermarkets like Tesco, Sainsbury's, Asda. There's like, if you want to buy game credit, you can only buy in increments of 10, 20, 50 and so on. Whilst if you want to buy increments of game credit in the big box stores, you can buy as little as a fiver if you need to. So you're trying to save up slowly but surely for your next year's worth of PlayStation Plus, and you're trying to do a fiver, like say every week to get you there. You're not doing that anymore at game. Nah, it's a tenner at least. And the staff, although still really lovely, you can see that there's a level of demoralization, if I think that's a word, when you speak to them. They still want to work a game, they still like their job, but you can tell that they're like concerned that they might not have that job for too much longer. And I'm going to throw out a prediction, which is not something I like to do too often on this channel, but I think honestly, between you and me, ZenFam, between a year and a half to 2 years, I don't think game will exist. I'm even willing to bet at this point that if there is a midnight launch for Grand Theft Auto 6, that will be it. There will not be a midnight launch for the next level of console. So PlayStation 6, and if indeed this other Xbox that has been rumoured will come, even if it is a mobile Xbox, which other rumours have spoken about, even if that does come, I don't think you'll go to a midnight launch event at a game store. In fact, I'm not sure there'll be a midnight launch at all. I think you'll have an option on the midnight turnover on its release date to click the button and have the process go through. But I think largely speaking, midnight launches after Grand Theft Auto 6, if indeed we even get that, that's it. It's done. You've had your chips. It's over. And that is sad and tragic. As is the loss of game. I've been going to game stores since, oh God, my late teens, early 20s. Let me put that in perspective for you boys and girls. I'm 50. So for at least 30 years, I've been going to game stores. I remember going to Electronics Boutique. I remember going to Game Station. I remember when Game Station was bought out by Game, and for a little while they were ran as their own thing, and then Game slowly but surely subsumed them into the greater Game body, which I always thought was a bit of a mistake, because I thought that Game Station's way of doing things was a nice diversion from the Game model, and they had a bit more focus on retro. And it was good. Those were good days when you could walk into a game store and there were at least 2, if not 3, play units for the 3 big competitors, and you could stand there and you could play a game. And I remember things like store lock-ins and stuff, like when I went for the store lock-in of the Order 1886, or I went for the store lock-in of Second Son. Great times, and midnight launches, and just talking to the staff and building a relationship with them. I mean, I've known several game managers and been friendly with oodles of game staff, some of which I'm sure are probably even still now channel subscribers. And if you are, hello. And if any of you are game employees out there, or recently ex-game employees, I would love to chat to you for the Vertical Slice series. Obviously, we'll try and find a way to disguise your voice and your identity. Even if you want to use some sort of voice changer thing as we talk, I'm fine for that. But I think we need to really get what's going on at game and get a perspective from someone from the trenches. But yeah. Sad days ahead, gamers. Game is definitely on its last legs, and like I say, 1.5 to 2 years, if that, I think Game is gone. Hashtag support Scottish YouTubers, and of course, as always, aye, nae bother.